Hello friends and welcome back to New York City. In this video I share my absolute favorite technique for using a telephoto lens to get more unique images. I also discuss how to look at scenes more thoughtfully to really express your creativity in any environment. I hope you enjoy watching. Alright, hello everyone and welcome to another photography vlog. We are here in New York City and I'm trying my hand at a little bit of cityscape and architectural photography. So let me show you where I am right now and show you the view. This is at about 28 millimeters. You can see all the skyscrapers here. What I've found to be the most interesting is all of these glassy windows. So watch what happens when I zoom in here to about 200 millimeters. You could really start to isolate these windows and these different geometric shapes. And what I love so much about doing this is the reflections of the other buildings and the windows become distorted and create different organic shapes. So in terms of my settings for these kind of photographs, I'm mainly doing high apertures just so I can get everything in focus. And I'm doing ISO 500 just in case I want to handhold some of these shots. So this was just a simple test shot here, but I quickly realized this grouping of buildings wasn't going to be the best for my experiment. The main reason for that was some of the more distracting reflections here and the lack of interesting textures to play with. So I decided to wander down the street a bit and I found a way more interesting reflection to play with. And here's what I shot. Now this ended up being a much better example of those organic reflections that I was talking about in the windows. You can see here how the distortion almost makes it look like the patterns are melting. I shot this one fairly straight on at about 200 millimeters, and then I went in and manually corrected the vertical and horizontal lines in post to give the image a more symmetrical and clean look. Alright, so check out this very odd building right here. I'm not sure what this one's called, but some really interesting textures in here. And as usual, if I zoom in, I can either simplify by focusing on these shapes. I kind of like how the reflections of the lights are coming in too. Or I can include part of the side of the building to create a better contrast of shapes. I'm going to do F16. There we go. So this image right here ended up looking okay. I think I was a little bit more excited about it behind the camera than when I got back to the file later on. But this photo is a really good example of how orientation can completely shift the perception of the photograph by the viewer. So check this out. As I flip the image 90 degrees, it starts to take on a different look. And this is something I love doing when it comes to abstract photography. Here's another example that I shot across the street where the shape of the building and the reflection creates a V shape. But if I flip it upside down, suddenly we have a triangle. There's no right or wrong answer here. It really just comes down to what kind of story you want to tell through the photograph. So the next time you're out there, play around a bit with your orientation, tilt the camera, experiment with flipping the image, and see what interesting things you can come up with. Another great thing to try when it comes to this style of photography isn't just to focus on one single building, but also to use buildings in the background for layering. And that's what I decided to try here with that blue building behind it. After this, I found one of the coolest building reflections I've ever seen. So check this out when I zoom in. This side almost looks like an abstract painting, whereas this side looks geometrical. But even when I zoom in this way, look at how that building is distorted in the perspective. So I'm kind of focused on these different areas, looking for ways to compose this and make an interesting photograph. Later in the day, I decided to meet up with some friends and visit the iconic Flatiron Building, which is my personal favorite in the city. But to my disappointment, it was completely covered in scaffolding. But here are 2 images I took of it back in 2016. I love focusing in on little architectural details and really allowing the building to be the main subject of the image, almost as if you were taking a portrait or a headshot of a person. I really wish I could have expanded more on this series and tried something a little different, but it looks like that's going to have to be something I do in the future. Something good did come out of this outing though. I saw some beautiful dramatic mammatus clouds forming over 2 other skyscrapers in the area, and then I shot this. This photo definitely got my creativity going, and I love how the clouds are swirling into the building, almost like a dragon or a creature flying up there. Framing wise, I decided to do kind of the opposite of what I did with the Flatiron Building, which is place these 2 skyscrapers towards the bottom so I could really allow that cloud to take up a lot more of the scene. So even though I didn't get my new Flatiron shots, I still came away with something I was really happy with. Afterwards, I wandered to another part of the city to see what else I could find, and I stumbled upon a street that would be perfect for a time-lapse sequence.
Ooh, this is a good street for a shot, I think. Right here. Let me show you in live view what this looks like. So check this out. So much traffic, cross traffic, and traffic leading towards us. And it's nice because we're standing and looking straight down on the street, but usually if we were on a crosswalk, we'd literally be standing in the middle of the street. But since we're, standing on the little sidewalk of a roundabout, hopefully no car is going to hit me. I think something like that. 100 millimeters looks really nice. Look at the way the people are crossing the streets. There's so much action here. This is really cool. I'm gonna stop talking and shoot this time lapse. Make sure we're on, again, manual focus, interval shoot function on, 1 second. Yeah, 400 frames, good.
This one was a pretty basic time-lapse. I just had the camera on manual mode and allowed it to take quick intervals of all of the motion here. A lot of people ask me, how do you do day to night time-lapses in the city? And for that, I would switch to aperture priority mode, which allows the shutter speed to change over time from daytime into nighttime. And then I use a program called LR Timelapse to correct any inconsistencies in post. After creating that time-lapse, I saw a great opportunity to use my wide-angle lens to get traffic flowing in the foreground with these beautiful skyscrapers in the back.
All right, let's see if we can get some motion here with the 16 to 35 lens. All right, there's a taxi. Looks pretty good. Bus coming. There's a pretty cool reflection in this building. I'm going to do the same settings, f16, ISO 100. All right, I found another cool reflection to share. So right now I'm getting the reflection with some of the cloud textures as well. That is pretty cool.
I started playing around a bit with my orientation and tilting the camera to get a different look to this reflection. And here's how it turned out.
So I've been playing around with some different textures here in the reflection of this building, and there's some really cool shapes. All the buildings in the reflection end up getting really distorted, and some of the facades look like they're melting, like it's almost a dream. So I decided to do a time lapse here just to see if the clouds in the background will show up behind the buildings and, you know, add some movement. I really don't know if it's going to work, but I figured, you know what, I'm here, may as well try something a little different and see if it works.
Alright, so here's just one last reflection shot and perhaps my favorite of the entire video. This is the sun reflecting off the building, creating some really ethereal light and beautiful colors here. I love how you have the mix of purples, yellows, and oranges, and how the left side of the frame is a lot more neutral colored, but still has some of the same repetitions of pattern. And now I would love to hear from you. Which image from this video ended up being your favorite? Please let me know in the comments. This adventure ended up being such a blast. I absolutely loved revisiting some iconic spots and just cruising through the city. But the key here was creativity. It's easy to show up to a photography location and just kind of shoot it for what it is. And I even did that in the last video where I shot some night cityscapes. And there's nothing wrong with that, but allowing your imagination to run free can oftentimes yield more unique results. In this video, I loved transforming these buildings into vivid splashes of colors, unique shapes, and even distorted textures. And you can pretty much do this anywhere. It doesn't have to be Manhattan, and it doesn't even have to be cityscapes. You can apply these techniques to almost any subject within landscape photography, whether you're on the coast, exploring some mountains, or even just exploring a park behind your house. With that, I really hope you enjoyed watching, and if you did enjoy it, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. If you want to learn more from me, you can take a workshop online or in person, links in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.